Oftentimes in Thailand, it's traditional also before beginning a Dhamma talk to reiterate the first exhortation the Buddha ever gave. Once he decided to teach, he called out, "Let those who hear me bring forth your faith. Open are the doors to immortality," and thereby initiating the current religion, the Buddhist religion, this instance of it, where it's possible to attain immortality, something that is lost in between Buddhist religions. According to the Buddhist teachings, we have the Buddhist religion for a finite period of time. It's this special window of opportunity that we have. And it's said that this current window will be open for a total of 5,000 years, where the Buddhist teachings will be in the world. Now we're about halfway through that time period. And so we're about halfway through the Buddhist religion in this instance, by that reckoning. And about 1 week before the Thai New Year, Songkran, comes up a week from now. We'll have ceremonies here at the temple for this, and of course there'll be ceremonies throughout Thailand and the diaspora around the world. And as any new year, it's a time for considering what has come the year before, what we want to do with the year ahead, remembering those we have gratitude for helping us get to where we are. And perhaps it's also a good time at this point, halfway through the Buddhist religion, to consider where we've come from and what we have, who we have to be grateful to, and what we want to do in the future. When I think about the past, I sometimes think of a Zen koan. I know very little about Zen, but I've heard this koan. What was your original face? Maybe you've all heard this before. What was your original face? And I think it speaks to a question that all human beings have to some degree or others. Where do we come from? And connected with that sometimes is why. Why have we come here? Why are we here? And then we often wonder, what is coming? What will happen to us? What will we be? Because when in the Zen koan, as I understand it, they're not asking about your past lives. It's, of course, in the Zen traditions and in Theravada Buddhism, we have the teachings about past lives. We've been in many rebirths before. Perhaps in many ways, very much like this birth we find ourselves in now, and in other ways, perhaps very different. But the idea is that we've been through many lifetimes already, so many that the Buddha told his followers that he couldn't even find the beginning himself. So long is the round of rebirths. And if we look for an original face in that way, the Buddha said himself that even he couldn't find it. What was your first face? Of course, I believe the Zen koan actually has a deeper meaning. That when we get below the superficial, the physical face that we have on this body, what is the face beneath that, behind that endures? And there's a heavy emphasis in many Buddhist traditions on getting down to that. Getting down to that, peeling away all of the other things, and getting down to that. The heart, it says in the suttas, the Buddha was talking about the heart with his monks, and he said, monks, there is this heart, or there is this mind, radiant all around, but it is defiled by dirty mental states. Much emphasis in Buddhism on clearing away this dirt from the mind, from the heart. Clarify it and find purity. It's such an important part of the Theravada tradition that one of the key commentaries used in the tradition is called the Visuddhimagga, the path to purity, the cornerstone of the commentarial tradition. Because if we can clear away this dirt from the heart, these defiling mental states, then beneath that, when the heart is pure, then what we experience is a delicious peace. The Buddha said that the highest pleasure is peace. In talking about meditation, he referred at one point to the kind of mental states you experience in very good meditation as being delectable, delicious. They're delicious because all of these dirty mental states are out of the way. And you just have the heart in its own purity. It's a very delicious feeling. So we have many kinds of pleasures in the world. We're fortunate to be human beings, endowed with the six senses of human beings, and the intelligence to use them to experience beautiful sights and beautiful sounds and tactile sensations that feel very good. But by Buddhist standards, these are actually not such delicious pleasures. Even the most delicious food doesn't taste as good meditation. And then if we take meditation to its end and we purify the heart completely so that it remains pure, then we can experience that highest pleasure on an ongoing basis, continuously, forever. And so, while if we look back, we try to find our past lives and where we came from in this way, looking back over time, we may not find much satisfaction. But if we can find our original face within by clearing away the dirt from the heart, then we can obtain the highest prize that there is. The Buddha, he contemplated birth and death, samsara, birth and death, when he was still a bodhisattva before he left the palace to seek enlightenment. He had seen aging and disease and death and learned that he also was subject to these, and decided within himself that it was not right for him to turn away from them, being subject to them. Instead, it was his disposition to think that he should try to find a solution. This is what prompted him to leave the palace and go seeking enlightenment. How do we get out of birth and death? Not knowing where we've come from and suffering in this life, only to give everything back when this body can no longer support us. It's interesting to think about we try to think back just to our most recent life, for those of us who believe in rebirth, it can be quite surprising to think about. If we were to ask ourselves, which country did we come from? And no answer arises. We have no idea. Usually most of us have no idea. And yet it was such an important part of our identities in that life, wasn't it? If we think, well, what language did I speak? Who can remember which language they spoke in their last life? And yet it was such an important part of our life, something that we used every single day. So intrinsic to us that we didn't have to think about it at all. And then having left that life and come here, we can't even remember what the language was. Was it Swahili? Was it English? Was it Burmese or Chinese? And we have no idea. And it says something about what our experience may be like when we go into our next life. Coming back into a human body, we enter at birth without anything at all. And we don't remember anything that we've left behind here. If someone asks us, what was your original face? How would you answer? If they were to ask, what were you in your last birth? And what could you say? Contemplating like this puts things into perspective, if you believe in rebirth. It helps us to notice what's really important in life. Our identities in this life, our possessions, all of the intellectual knowledge that we amass. Well, where do they all go when we pass away from this life? But if we can clear the dirt out of the heart, then that's something very good. By Buddhist standards, that's something that lasts. Immortality. When we have to give up this body, then the heart goes on. But it doesn't have to take up another body, and the heart remains pure. So we're halfway through the religion. A time when the Four Noble Truths are in the world. Teachings distinctive to the Buddhist religion and found in no other. The truth of suffering, the cause of suffering, the end of suffering, and the path to that end of suffering. And we pay homage to the Buddha and the Dhamma and the Sangha, the Buddha and his teachings, and his saintly disciples, because they gave us all of these teachings without asking for anything in return. Having awakened to the truth, the Buddha taught for 45 more years throughout northern central India. He traveled far and wide by the standards of the day, and always on foot, as this was appropriate at the time for a monk. You can imagine how much work this was, walking from place to place on foot. And he ate only food that was given to him freely by other people that same morning. Carrying a bowl, walking through the villages and the towns, eating what people put in the bowl. Sometimes receiving food in people's homes. If they invited the Buddha into their home, then he would accept food in their home and use the opportunity also to teach. Finishing his food by midday, and he wouldn't save any for the next day. And he told his monks and nuns, the bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, that he forbade them to save food from one day to the next to eat. So we have this tradition in the temples that we don't eat unless the lay people come into the temple and give us some food, or if we go on alms round and they put food in our bowls. And so the Buddha might set off on foot with no provisions, trusting in the tradition of alms food and eating whatever he received. In this way, also being a field of merit for all who wanted to make merit by practicing generosity. So he gave the teachings for free, no charge, as a gift. He told his monks and nuns to do the same. He forbade us to receive payment for teachings, for example, or to receive anything in compensation. And this is a great benefit to us because then we get the merit also of giving in this way. We get this merit and the lay people receive the merit from generosity. The Buddha told his followers that if you give something to a human being, it'll come back to you at least 1,000 times over. So a very high rate of return, of much greater value than receiving payment. And it was a very beautiful thing for me to see going to Thailand, ordaining as a monk there, to see the spirit of generosity and then also to see it again here in America, returning. I think that's another wonderful aspect of it, that it's very inspiring. Seeing generosity and seeing acts of kindness, it's very uplifting. And this right there is one of the fruits of this great practice. And so we have the Buddha's teachings because of this act of generosity. The Buddha gave the teachings to all of us freely. And the noble disciples all throughout the last 100 generations have done the same. If we remember that when we come in and pay homage in the temple or when we do so in our homes, remember, why is it we're paying homage? Why is it we say Namo Tassa? We've received this wonderful gift from someone who is very high, from people who are very high, who gave this gift on to us with compassion. And so by Buddhist standards, we have this, which is the very greatest kind of gift. It gives us this return, such as when we perform an act of generosity, it will come back to us 1,000 times over. Something special which we might not otherwise have known. And all the other wonderful benefits of the Buddha's teachings, all the way up to immortality, the greatest reward possible. Now when we look forward, who knows what will happen? I was teaching about the Four Noble Truths yesterday to a class that meets every Saturday here at the temple at 1 o'clock. And we'd been studying the life of the Buddha. We'd gotten to the point of his first sermon, and in which he delivers the Four Noble Truths. And it says in the scriptures that after the Buddha delivered this first sermon, that the Devas rejoiced, the angels in the heavens rejoiced. And they passed it up from one level of heaven to the next, all the way up to the very highest level. That in the Deer Park at Varanasi, the Blessed One has set in motion the wheel of Dhamma, the wheel of Dhamma that could not be stopped by any Mara or Brahma, so any evil divinity or any highest divinity or any human being or any angels or any priests or contemplatives or any human being at all. That nobody could stop this wheel of Dhamma. We don't know what the future will hold in particular. But we can see that over the last 2,500 years, there have been many good times and many bad times in history. The Buddhist religion itself has fared well and sometimes not fared well. I think we can have hope that it won't die out. But what exactly will happen with it will depend on what people do. And what will happen for each of us over the course of the next year and throughout our lives. To a large extent, it depends on what we do. An essential aspect of the Buddha's teachings is the power of our own choices. Chaitana, as we say it in Pali. Chaitana. Chaitana, he says in the scriptures, is what he means by kamma. The Buddha said, by kamma, I mean chaitana, the choice that we make. Once we make a decision, we're already setting kamma or karma in action. The power of this is illustrated by a simple example of generosity that I gave before. If you give something to a human being, it will come back to you at least 1,000 times over. The Buddha also taught his foremost male lay disciple, foremost in generosity, that there are higher forms of merit as well. As powerful as generosity is, he said that even if you give away 84,000 in gold and silver over the course of an entire year, which would be like millions of dollars in the course of an entire year, and it doesn't match the merit of undertaking the 5 precepts. The 5 precepts are so meritorious. There's more merit in them than giving away millions of dollars over the course of a year, of an entire year. And of course, we see in the scriptures that the Buddha identified the 5 precepts as our safety net, you might say, from falling into the lower realms. Very important, because once we fall into the lower realms, it is very hard to come back up. If we are a ghost or an animal, or even in hell, it's very hard to come back up. Hence, one aspect of the importance of the 5 precepts. In Sila, the precepts of the morality. The foundation also for meditation practice. At one point in the scriptures, a layman asked, "What is the path for the mendicants, the monks and the nuns, and what is the path for lay people?" After talking about how the monks and the nuns should practice, the Buddha said that the lay people should follow the 5 precepts every day. And then on the Uposatha days, and tie the 1 prap, which is about once a week, the Uposatha day or religious observance day. The lay people should follow the 8 precepts. And then this is an opportunity to devote themselves to spiritual practice. About once a week, the 8 precepts and the meditation. He told his foremost female lay disciple, Lady Visakha. She was foremost in generosity also. I mentioned Anathapindika, the male lay follower, foremost in generosity. She was foremost in generosity as well. And he told her this is an opportunity to clean the mind, just as we might clean a mirror or some other household object. We use spiritual practice on the religious observance day, along with the 8 precepts, to clean the mind. And he told her that this observance day is so beneficial that it's better than becoming ruler of the entire earth. If you had your choice between being ruler of the entire earth or doing the Uposatha day with the 8 precepts every week, he said, you'd be more fortunate to have the Uposatha day every week. And this is quite striking, because he said the ruler of the earth that he was talking about isn't any normal king or president or empress. Is someone who conquers the entire world by righteous means, by Dhamma, rules by Dhamma, has fantastic wealth and luxury, and all of the nobility around the world love him. He has an ideal life. But the Buddha told Lady Visakha that this religious observance day is better because it is the condition for heavenly rebirth. One can be reborn to day one if one keeps the 1 prap, the religious observance day, with the 8 precepts. And he told her that this is a contemplation that she could use on those days as well. That whatever faith and morality, generosity and wisdom that the angels had to be reborn in the heavens, that she also has faith in morality, generosity and wisdom. And this can make us feel very good about our future. I'm sure this made Lady Visakha feel very good about her future. The spiritual practice. If you give away millions of dollars over the course of a year, it's very important to be generous, the Buddha taught. He said that we depend upon our past generosity for our material needs to be met. We might get a job and work and receive a paycheck. But the foundation for that is our past generosity. I think this helps explain why we see such a difference in people. Some people have careers that they love, working with people that they're very harmonious with, and they make a lot of money. And others have a very hard time of it. Perhaps this generosity is part of the reason. That there is this spiritual component in addition to what we see with the physical eye. As necessary as generosity is, even if we give away millions of dollars over the course of a year, it doesn't match the merit of undertaking the 5 precepts. And the Buddha went on to say that as much good merit as that is, it doesn't match the merit of practicing loving-kindness meditation for as long as it takes to milk a cow. I asked someone once, how long does it take to milk a cow? I've never milked a cow. And because if you milk a cow by hand, from what I understand, it takes about 15 minutes to do it the way they did in the time of the Buddha, milking a cow by hand. About 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes, practicing loving-kindness meditation, and I believe the other kinds of meditation the Buddha recommended and extolled, recollection of the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, for example, or the Asubha Kamatan, or mindfulness of breathing, just 15 minutes is even more merit than undertaking the 5 precepts. In modern science tells us something that may be supportive of this. Modern science tells us that if we meditate for just 20 minutes a day, that the benefits accrue cumulatively over a long period of time and are quite remarkable. You can see the differences in the brain. They do MRIs with modern instruments, and you see the difference in the brain. People become better able to manage their emotions, they feel more at ease, develop greater emotional intelligence. It's very good for the body as well. It seems the meditation is anti-inflammatory and neuroregenerative. And it's just 20 minutes every day. And they say you can even split it into 2 10-minute sections. So perhaps this is similar to what the Buddha was saying. If we meditate just 15 minutes a day, the merit is greater, even than undertaking the 5 precepts. But he went on still further and he said that as much good merit as this is, it's even better merit to perceive impermanence for a finger snap of time. Just a finger snap, if you perceive impermanence. What this means is, I use the word perceive, if we actually experience impermanence. We all know that all things change. Even before Buddhism came to the West, it was said in the West that the only constant in life is change. This is an intellectual knowledge. The way we know this intellectually is through comparison. What was and what is, how things used to be and how they are now. We see change in this way intellectually. But if we can actually experience the change happening as it's occurring, even just for a finger snap of time. This is transformative because the heart doesn't usually experience this, because it's clouded with the dirt of delusion. It attaches to the things in this life that we encounter, experiencing them instead as being permanent, ultimately satisfying, and to be me and mine, things that we can take possession of and identify with. And we can see ourselves doing this. We see others doing it quite clearly. We always think of our car as my car. The house we live in as my house. We think of my name as my name. We think of our roles as our roles. I am a nurse, I am a lawyer, I am a teacher, I am a student, I am a husband, I am a wife. But do we really own any of these? If we notice that they change and will all come to an end at some point, then we realize that they come and go according to their nature and according to the laws of impermanence. In a way, you might say, the law of impermanence is the real owner. Even this body, Ajahn Chah said, "You don't own this body," he said. "We only rent this body." And the real owner takes it back, piece by piece. I think all of the young people have left the room. No offense. No offense, but we get older, we really experience that, don't we? That the real owner of this body takes it back piece by piece. This earlier today, going into the Hoshan, I saw Mo saying that, and I thought it was Yom Hiang. Sorry, Mo. Sorry, doctor. My eyes aren't as good as they used to be. And it's striking when that happens. I thought I knew who I saw. I was fooled to some degree by the eyes, and fooled by my delusion as well, not realizing that you can't depend on eyes. They're not dependable. I don't really own them or control them. Impermanence. If we can experience change happening for a finger snap of time, then the heart sees what is really happening, what the situation is. None of these things are dependable. They won't last. They can't provide lasting satisfaction. And then the heart naturally inclines more towards finding something that is more dependable. Finding, as we say in Buddhism, a true refuge. The true refuge. And so the urges in the heart change. The heart is less likely to initiate urges to find sensual pleasures, to make worldly accomplishments, or to push away those things that we should do that we don't want to do. And instead, the heart initiates the urge to find safety, to find freedom from suffering. To find the original face, get rid of the dirt from the heart and be free. So talked a little bit about the past and talked about gratitude, and people are looking at their watches. They have to go somewhere, okay. Talked about the past and talked a little bit about gratitude and thinking about the future. What will happen, we don't know exactly, but we can remember the power of our decisions, Chaitana. And the means of making merit. Today was said that once the wheel of Dhamma was set in motion, nobody could stop it. Sometimes I've wondered, is that really true? 2,500 years already is a long time. In Buddhism, as well as the rest of human history, has gone up and down over time. But perhaps they knew that the reason Buddhism would endure through it all is that there would be people who would be inspired by these kinds of messages. That just as suffering is not going to go away, that coming in contact with suffering, there would always be people who would aspire to something better and who would exert the effort to try to do good things. So this is what really sustains the Buddhist religion. It isn't really, I don't think, some kind of magic. And it isn't the words of the Four Noble Truths written in a book. The books don't have the power to pull themselves off the shelves and show them around. And so that's something I think maybe to think about. If we have some faith in the power of good actions, perhaps we've already experienced them to some extent in this life, in the past. And remember that the future is uncertain. We don't know where we've come from, and we don't know where we're going. We depend on our karma, our kamma, to go to someplace good. That this will inspire us to make an effort. So I'd like to offer you those ideas for you to think about, to consider going into the new year. It starts just a week from now. And so I'll draw the talk to a close here and give you that. I still don't know the Pali, I'm sorry. I was looking forward to my book before I got up on in the seat. My book doesn't have it, so I have to find it. All right. Anumotana Yom. Sadhu.